Hi, my name is Nick Ruiz, and I'm the Planning Program Manager for the Virginia Railway Express, or VRE.
And I'm Rebecca Sprouse, Senior Planner with STV, a consultant to VRE.
In this presentation, we're going to review our System Plan 2050 Update project and share information about our recorded rail service scenarios for the shorter and longer terms. In case you're not familiar with VRE, we wanted to provide a quick overview. VRE provides commuter-oriented rail service. That means we mostly provide service in the direction of peak rush hour traffic. We have traditionally run trains northbound into DC in the morning and southbound in the afternoon and evening.
VRE operates between the Northern Virginia suburbs and the DC metro area, including Alexandria, Crystal City, and downtown Washington, DC, with two lines running parallel with the I-66 and I-95 interstate corridors. You can see the two lines on the map. The blue line is called the Manassas line, and the red line is called the Fredericksburg line.
While VRE currently has trains operating every weekday, providing valuable service to weekday commuters, this presentation focuses on planning for VRE's future. VRE's system plan provides a framework for system investments and actions VRE should pursue to best meet regional travel needs in the future, in both the short and long term.
VRE's previous system plan was completed in 2014 with an eye on the year 2040. That plan identified a program of improvements that included new tracks and stations, new trains, and improved service addressing expected travel needs through 2040.
The system plan does not plan at a small scale. It provides plans for capital investments as well as high-level strategies about where, when, and how we think we should operate as we move into the future. It does not include specific details about train arrival times at specific stations, exact fares that we plan to charge in the future, or other similar details.
VRE's last system plan was adopted in 2014, and the world and Northern Virginia has changed significantly since then. Telework has expanded greatly in our region. Last year, we learned that from 2019 to 2022, there was a 23% increase in riders who telework at least some days. Additionally, Northern Virginia continues to grow and change. Much of this growth is projected to occur in the outlying areas, which VRE provides service to, such as Fredericksburg, where a 35% increase in population is expected by 2050, the highest rate in our region. This means we need to be ready to provide valuable service to the region's new residents. Lastly, other plans and projects have been created since 2014 that we must coordinate with. The Transforming Rail in Virginia initiative, also known as TRV, is a Commonwealth of Virginia-led effort managed by the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority that seeks to add rail capacity and service while improving transportation choices for the Commonwealth. We use the TRV plan as our baseline for VRE's future in the near term, and then considered other strategies we may need to add for the long-term horizon.
Now that you have some background information about VRE and our system plan, let's take a look at the update process in more detail. The project's first phase kicked off in the summer of 2022. In that early phase, we defined a vision and goals, conducted a market analysis, and created ridership projections to guide our decision-making. Phase 2 included developing many different service concepts for VRE's future. These concepts were refined based on feedback and analysis. In this phase, we also developed a 2030 service alternative to guide our shorter-term planning work. Now we are in phase 3 of the project. A recommended 2050 service scenario has been developed after much discussion among VRE staff, with the VRE Operations Board, with riders and stakeholders, and after a detailed analysis of multiple alternative futures. We've taken time to assess the service scenario in detail, calculating potential ridership, its impacts and benefits, needed capital investments, funding requirements, and implementation strategies.
The vision of the system plan is that VRE will grow to serve the region as the transportation service of choice, creating meaningful connections and economic opportunities in a safe, sustainable, and equitable manner. This vision guided our decision-making and will continue to guide implementation of the final service scenario. In addition to that vision, we developed 4 goals to help us make that vision a reality. We used these goals as we reviewed potential service scenarios for the future. The first goal is safety and reliability. We want to continue our history of providing a safe transportation option and make sure service maintains a high level of reliability. Another is market growth and financial stability, making sure that the options we're considering can help VRE grow our market as needs change, while making sure we are investing our transportation dollars to most efficiently move the greatest number of people while ensuring the longevity of the service. Regional system integration and equitable service. How can we make sure that we provide service that all are able to use, boosting service to areas with poor or no transit service, and to areas with high concentrations of low income and/or minority populations? Lastly, sustainability and resiliency, contributing to energy efficient travel and ensuring VRE can be flexible and adapt as climate changes and adverse weather events impact the railroad and our assets.
The vision and goals guided the development of several conceptual service scenarios, starting with a long list of about 20 general concepts for how service could look in the future. We used feedback from stakeholders and the VRE Operations Planning Work Group to narrow that down to a smaller set of concepts, resulting in a short list of service scenarios. For these 4 scenarios in the short list, we conducted more analysis and gathered more feedback, including from the public, to determine which would be the best fit for our vision and meet the goals that we established. The final 2050 service scenario is a refinement of one of the scenarios from the shortlist. On the next slide, we'll discuss the important components that make up the service scenario that we are calling the 2050 service vision.
When we developed potential service scenarios, there were many factors we considered. These included, but weren't limited to, which days we will run service, how frequently the trains will run, how and where the trains stop. This includes express trains, which skip some stops to run faster, where trains may turn around if only certain areas need to be served at certain times of day, how often trains should run in the non-peak direction, and how many daily trips should be made to support the expected demand. The shortlist scenarios were screened, evaluated, and compared against several types of evaluation criteria. The main set of evaluation criteria are listed below, with topics considered in Phase 3 of the planning process listed below each one. Take some time to review them now.
Another important source of input in selecting a service scenario was feedback from both the general public and other stakeholder groups. We solicited feedback from the public throughout the planning process, both in person and digitally. Our methods included setting up an interactive website with information about the system plan update, with opportunities to send comments and questions to the team, a regional transportation priority survey with 817 responses received, and in-person pop-up events and related online feedback activities. Additionally, VRE reached out to many partner agencies, local jurisdictions, and internal groups to ensure that regional stakeholders had the chance to understand VRE's process and weigh in on what service scenario would best support their goals. The chart on this slide shows a very condensed view of what we heard from different stakeholder groups. Generally, topics most discussed by our stakeholders included initiating express service from outer stations, expanding weekday service options to other times of the day, and initiating weekend service. On our way to establishing a 2050 service scenario, VRE also created a 2030 alternative, a concept for improving infrastructure and service through the end of this decade. This is an important step that will set us up for future enhancements through our 2050 horizon. The 2030 alternative also helps keep us on track with the Transforming Rail in Virginia initiative.
The 2030 alternative calls for running more daily round trips on weekdays, initiating weekend service, first on Saturdays and then adding Sundays, beginning to run trains in both directions in the AM and PM, also known as reverse peak service, initiating express service, adding a new infill station at Potomac Shores, adding and lengthening platform edges at select stations, expanding VRE's rail yard at Broad Run and Crossroads in Virginia, and constructing new train storage yards in DC near New York Avenue.
All of this groundwork and analysis contributed to the development of the recommended 2050 service scenario. This scenario reflects the service vision and meets the goals established at the beginning of the process. It includes major enhancements to service, expanding the number of trips per day, as well as the types of trips available. The recommended scenario calls for running trains 7 days a week for a much longer service period than we do today, and continuing to increase train frequencies on both lines to every 20 minutes during the weekdays in the peak travel direction. Service in the reverse peak direction would also be more frequent and convenient, with trains every 30 minutes on each line. Outside of the morning and evening peak hours, trains would run every hour. All trains are planned to run the entire length of each line, with no turnbacks mid-route. However, in the peak periods, one train per hour would be an express train, skipping some stops to bring travelers into the region's core faster. All of this adds up to almost 3 times as many round trips than we provide today.
The 2050 service scenario keeps the current extent of VRE's rail lines, terminating at Broad Run on the Manassas line and in Spotsylvania on the Fredericksburg line. However, the scenario includes the potential for improved connecting service to Manassas and Fredericksburg Station via feeder buses. These enhanced connections would effectively extend VRE's 2-seat journey service area. The potential connections could bring riders to and from destinations in Fauquier and Culpeper counties on the Manassas line, in Spotsylvania, Caroline, and Hanover counties on the Fredericksburg line. This plan will not include specific details on the stopping patterns, stop locations, fares, or schedules for future connecting bus service, as those details will need to be addressed through a separate planning and coordination effort after the system plan is adopted.
The 2050 service scenario will provide tangible benefits to existing and new VRE users, the region at large, and even road users who don't ride VRE. The region as a whole would see reductions in negative impacts from vehicle use, such as emissions, noise, and pavement wear. Other expected benefits to the region include increased regional competitiveness, better access to jobs, education, and other essential services, and the capacity for more housing and more orderly development in areas near transit stops, allowing those areas to support a higher density of development without negative impacts to the roadway network. With more opportunities to use VRE for their daily trips all week long, VRE users can expect to see savings from lower vehicle fuel, maintenance, and insurance costs. They can also expect travel time savings from skipping traffic. An increase in frequency and types of trips will help get VRE users to more destinations they want to go, and they can reap the benefits of a more active lifestyle associated with using active transportation, such as walking or biking, to connect to or from a VRE station. Even non-riders can see benefits from VRE's proposed enhancements. Fewer cars on the road means fewer vehicle miles traveled and reduced negative impacts of driving, including fewer vehicle crashes, less congestion, and fewer capacity increases required.
Well, 2050 is over 20 years away. You won't have to wait decades to start seeing service enhancements. Service frequencies and the number of trains running on VRE lines will increase gradually from now until 2050 to meet the service scenario's targets. By 2030, we will work to increase the number of weekday trips by 63% compared to today.
You may be wondering where VRE goes from here. Now that we have decided on a recommended 2050 service scenario, the plan goes to our operations board. We expect the operations board will consider adopting the recommended scenario later this spring. Next, VRE's parent commissions, the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission and the Potomac and Rappahannock Transportation Commission, may choose to also adopt the plan. Once the system plan is formally adopted, we can begin all of the activities associated with plan implementation.
We encourage you to stay involved and informed about our next steps, which includes a release of the plan to the public, adoption, and then implementation. Currently, the website accessible via the URL or QR code on the screen is the source for all public information on the system plan update. You can browse information and data from all three phases of this project. If you have any comments or questions about this presentation or any other parts of the system plan update project, please send them to the email address systemplan@vre.org.
Thank you for your interest in this effort. We look forward to sharing the complete VRE System Plan 2050 update with you soon.